President Trump just promised millions of seniors that they'll never pay taxes on Social Security again. But there's a massive problem with this promise that could leave you disappointed and financially unprepared. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal exactly what's really in this so-called big, beautiful bill, expose the gap between political promises and reality, and show you who actually benefits from these changes. Most importantly, I'll explain what this means for your Social Security benefits and taxes. Welcome to Financial Area, where we cut through the political noise to bring you the financial facts that matter to your wallet. If you want to stay informed about policies that actually affect your money, hit that like button and subscribe for more honest financial analysis. Let's start with what actually happened during that July 4th celebration. President Trump stood before a crowd and made 3 bold tax promises. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for seniors. These weren't off-the-cuff remarks either. He was reading from prepared statements, calling this the largest tax cut in American history. The promise about Social Security taxes caught everyone's attention because it directly impacts millions of seniors who depend on these benefits. After all, who wouldn't want to keep more of their hard-earned Social Security money? The crowd cheered, the media reported it, and seniors across the country probably felt a wave of relief. But here's where things get problematic. When you actually look at what's written in this legislation, the bill that was supposedly passed, there's no provision that eliminates taxes on Social Security benefits. None. Zero. What you'll find instead is a $6,000 tax deduction for individuals aged 64 and over. Now, this might sound like the same thing to some people, but it's absolutely not. A tax deduction and eliminating taxes entirely are two completely different animals. A deduction reduces your taxable income, which might lower your tax bill. Eliminating taxes means you pay nothing at all on those benefits. The difference is enormous, and it means millions of seniors are being misled about what this policy actually does. This raises a serious question. Did the president genuinely believe the bill eliminated Social Security taxes? Or was this strategic messaging designed to maintain a campaign narrative? Either way, it's creating false expectations for the very people who can least afford to be caught off guard by tax policy. So who actually benefits from this $6,000 deduction? The answer might surprise you, because it's not the seniors who need help the most. Let's start with middle-income seniors, those earning between about $30,000 and $75,000 per year. These are the people who hit the sweet spot for this deduction. They typically pay some taxes on their Social Security benefits, but not huge amounts. For them, a $6,000 deduction could potentially reduce their taxable income enough to eliminate their tax liability on Social Security benefits entirely. Here's how it works in practice. Let's say you're a senior with $40,000 in total income, including Social Security. Under current rules, you might owe taxes on a portion of your benefits. But with this $6,000 deduction, your taxable income drops to $34,000, potentially eliminating your tax liability altogether. For this group, the deduction could actually deliver on the promise of no Social Security taxes. But here's the catch. This only works if you're in that middle-income bracket. What about everyone else? Low-income seniors, who make up a significant portion of Social Security recipients, already pay little to no federal income tax on their benefits. The current tax system already protects them through existing thresholds and deductions. So this new $6,000 deduction, it does virtually nothing for them. They weren't paying much in taxes before, and they won't pay much after. The deduction is essentially meaningless for the seniors who struggle the most financially. On the other end of the spectrum, high-income seniors face their own limitations. The deduction begins to phase out for those earning above $75,000. Many in this group already have other deductions or income sources that complicate their tax situation. A $6,000 deduction might help somewhat, but it's not going to dramatically change their overall tax liability. What this means is that the policy creates winners and losers in a way that doesn't align with the universal promise that was made. The seniors who need the most help get least benefit, while those in the middle get the most relief. It's not necessarily bad policy, but it's certainly not the sweeping change that was promised. This brings us to what could have been done differently, and why the current approach misses a huge opportunity to actually help seniors. Instead of a deduction, lawmakers could have implemented a refundable tax credit. Let me explain why this would have been game-changing. A refundable tax credit works dollar for dollar against your tax liability. If you owe $2,000 in taxes and get a $2,000 credit, you owe nothing. But here's the key part. If you owe less than the credit amount, you get the difference back as a refund. Imagine if instead of a $6,000 deduction, the bill included a $2,000 refundable tax credit specifically for Social Security recipients. A senior who owes $500 in taxes would see that liability eliminated and receive $1,500 as a refund. A senior who owes no taxes at all would receive the full $2,000. This approach would provide direct financial support to low-income seniors who currently get nothing from the deduction while still helping middle and higher-income seniors. The credit could even be structured with both refundable and non-refundable components to balance fiscal responsibility with social support. For example, the first $1,000 could be refundable, helping the most vulnerable seniors, while the second $1,000 is non-refundable, providing additional relief to those with tax liability. This isn't just theoretical. Refundable credits have been used successfully in other areas of tax policy. The Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit both use this structure to provide targeted relief to those who need it most. But beyond the policy mechanics, there's a bigger issue here about accountability and truthfulness in political mise. Sagging. When a public official makes a claim that doesn't match the actual legislation, it's the responsibility of reporters and media outlets to ask follow-up questions. A simple question like, "You stated that there is no tax on Social Security in this bill, but the bill doesn't include such a provision. Can you explain this discrepancy?" could have prevented widespread confusion. Without this kind of scrutiny, misleading statements can go unchallenged, leading to exactly what we're seeing now. Seniors who believe they'll never pay taxes on Social Security again, when the reality is much more limited. So what should you do with this information? First, if you're a senior or approaching retirement, don't base your financial planning on political promises alone. Look at the actual policy details, understand how they apply to your specific situation, and plan accordingly. Second, when evaluating future proposals about Social Security or taxes, ask the right questions. Who qualifies for the benefit? Is it a deduction, a credit, or a direct payment? How does it interact with existing tax liabilities? Are there income thresholds or phase-outs? These details matter enormously for understanding what a policy will actually do. Finally, stay engaged in the political process. Seniors and advocacy groups need to continue pushing for policies that provide meaningful relief, especially for those most in need. This includes advocating for refundable credits, increased benefit levels, and protections against future tax increases. The gap between political promises and legislative reality isn't new, but it's particularly problematic when it affects seniors who depend on Social Security benefits. The $6,000 deduction is a step in the right direction for some, but it's not the sweeping change that was promised. By understanding what's actually in the bill and advocating for better policies, seniors can help ensure that future legislation truly serves their needs. The power to hold politicians accountable and push for better policies lies with informed citizens who refuse to accept misleading statements and demand real solutions. Your Social Security benefits are too important to leave to political rhetoric. They deserve policies based on facts, not promises.